I am sure sports. You know me there, I'm coast to coast representing. I mean, I say this is right, just representing for Omar. You don't know, come get the sports over here from near and far. Boy, 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 boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know no game play, that me not say it. If me never see no game, me no know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, they'll come over here so. For the day done, you a go love over here so.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of no Brazil, no Argentina with these crap of players. We are good enough. Remember, like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment, let me know what your thoughts are.
Jamaican herbs and spices add delicious, bold flavor to your next grilling experience. Flavoring sauce, a marinade, basting, condiment, or topping. Trick Nick Jerk Barbecue Sauce.
Jerk Marinade gives your meats and vegetables authentic Jamaican jerk flavor. The spices are directly from Jamaica. Spices like jerk seasoning, allspice, Scotch bonnet pepper, fresh scallions, thyme, ginger, and garlic. The key ingredients to a great jerk marinade. 0% sugar and low in sodium. You want to try it?
Greetings, good morning, and welcome to I Am Sure Sports. I'm your host, Mannings man. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful morning. As usual, we want to encourage you, right? If you always do what you have always done, you will always be who you have always been. Let me say that for you again. If you always do what you have always done, you will always be who you have always been. Sometimes, you know what they say about insanity? If you keep doing the same thing every day and expect different results, it speaks of a mental challenges. Sometimes to change your life, you have to change your actions. To change your actions, you have to change your thinking. To change your thinking, you have to change what you're consuming and consuming mentally. So begin the process of changing who you are by changing what you consume. That will change what you think. Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Again, welcome again to I Am Sure Sports. This is our Legends Corner. And again, we're delighted to have you. Remember, if you have not yet subscribed to the platform, please go ahead and do so. Like and share the content as well. We will not break our interview to ask you to like or to share because we want to focus on the information that we are getting. Also, remember to check out our sponsors, Tricknick. Tricknick is a Jamaican-owned and operated company in Canada, and they use authentic Jamaican herbs and spices to make all their products. And they're offering 25% discount on all their products. All you have to do is shop at www.tricknick.ca and use the code I Am Sure Sports 001. And once you do that, you'll get your discount. Please know that the link is also in the description of this video, so you can check it out so you can get your discount. This morning, I have the privilege of interviewing a Georgian. They call them the Knights. I hear people, a lot of persons were speaking about yesterday. Finally, someone who can bring some clarity and they say common sense to the footballing dialogue. I don't know if that is putting too much pressure on our guest this morning. But to whom much is given, much is expected. And so the Georgians have high expectation. There's a side of North Street that is having high expectation. So I hope he can match up to the expectation of all his fellow Georgians this morning. So I want to welcome to the Legends Corner and to I Am Sure Sports, Mr. Christopher Morgan. You're muted. Let me see if we can. There we go. Oh,
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
my pleasure having you, sir. How are you doing? Merry Christmas.
Same to you and yours.
Happy New Year. God's richest blessings for you for this year. Yeah,
Yes,
man.
sir. Health and prosperity. Wishing you both.
Yes. All right. So, Sir Morgan, so let me begin by asking you what we generally ask all our guests is when did you start taking football seriously? When did you start playing the sport and kind of share that journey with us all the way to your successful years in high school football?
Okay. For me, it started in the mid-70s in a community called Edgewater in Portmore. I was surrounded by football as long as I can remember. It was a team called Wanderers that was organized by the Dugan brothers. I think Gerald Dugan, Peter Dugan, Gary Dugan, and some of the other Edgewater residents. And that's kind of where it started. The first person I remember giving me a soccer ball and teaching me to juggle was one of the Dugans, Gary Dugan, also known as Puppy. So I think he used to come check a girl that lived beside me, and he would see me kicking the ball around, and he called me over and showed me how to juggle. And then in no time, I was juggling to over 100 as a little 7-year-old kid, and I guess they saw the talent in me and started allowing me to play with them on the street, scrimmage. We had a concrete where we would play. And that's basically, it was all informal until age 12, where Wanderers now had a U12 team. They had a U17 team, and they also had an adult team. So they had a really good structure. So all the boys, my age group, we would practice after the older guys on a Saturday morning. After the older guys would practice, Vincent Riley, I think as a Calabar old boy, he would coach the younger boys, which included players like Carl Cooper, Trevor Thomas from Kingston Tech, his brother David Thomas, quite a few. Carlton Simmons, Buckled was one of the younger guys in the area. And it was just a group of young men who did nothing but play football, morning, noon, and night. We're under the lights, down at the beach, you name it. We were always playing. And the concrete was where I think most of my skills were honed. It was like a tennis court that they had. We played 6v6. Nowadays, they would call that futsal. So we were playing futsal from back then. And you really had to be very skillful to even get a chance to play there. So that's kind of where it started for me. I never played prep school. I went to St. Aloysius Primary. So my first foray into any kind of competitive sports was with Wanderers at the U12 level. So that's where it started for me. Enough respect to the Wanderers crew. They created a structure for myself and many other youths to come through. And we used to look up to players like Peter Prendergast, Grabbag Laidley, Mark Soupbone Johnson, Pika Laidley, you name them, all Jamaica representatives. These were guys we grew up watching. The Dugans, Peter Dugan, Gary Dugan. We're just surrounded by football, Mannings, man. Just non-stop football. We ate football, slept football, dream football. So that's kind of where it was. That's where the love developed. And I took that into high school with me. So that's kind of the background of where it began for me.
Okay, so you left St. Aloysius Primary, past common entrance, I believe, at that time, and right into St. George's.
Correct. So with the common entrance now, it go already. If you're born after September, you get like an extra chance, right?
Right.
So I had 3 chances for the common entrance because I was born after September. I don't think anyone expected me to pass on my first chance, but I did.
Which would make you
And,
10 years old.
10 years old, yeah. So no one expected it, but I don't know. I did, and I ended up at St. George's College in 1978. And then it was a good group of players there. I came in with Andrew Price, Chris Buckridge, Alton Hansen, a really good group of boys that we ended up actually winning the Pepsi in our first year. So in 1978, we won the Pepsi with that group of players.
That means you'd have been 11 because no, September would have gone when Pepsi started. So because you got to school in September, so your birthday would have been sometime there. So you moved from 10 to 11. So at 11 years old, you played Pepsi?
I wasn't 11 yet. I was born December 20th. So I was still 10.
Oh.
Yeah. So at 10 years old, the Georges team, we won. Well, I was 10. Some of the other guys were 11. Maybe some were 12.
You said Andrew Price.
Andrew Price, Chris Buckridge was the captain. Skitter didn't play Pepsi, I don't think, but we had Michael Forbes. All of us went on to end up playing Manning Cup. So we can talk a little more about development and how that should work. But that was 78. We won Pepsi with that group of guys. And
who was the coach at St. George's at that time?
That's a good question. So before Dennis Zadie came on board, there was a coach that his name was Mr. Dazivedo. He was the Pepsi coach and he was the Colts coach. So he coached us to Pepsi victory in 1978. And then he coached us to Colts, back-to-back Colts victories in 1980 and 81. So in 78, we won Pepsi, 80, we won Colts, and 81, we won Colts again, all coached by Mr. Dazivedo. So he's like one of those unsung heroes, right? He did a lot for all of us as players. He set a good foundation for Mr. Zadie to come afterwards and just, take us to the next level. But I would be amiss if I didn't mention Mr. Dazivedo. And there was also another science teacher called Mr. McDermott. He's in Atlanta now. I think he's a referee in Atlanta. He was a science teacher, but he was a UWI student at the time. And he started another group of boys called the Winchester Sharpshooters, Winchester from Winchester Park. And we were called the Winchester Sharpshooters. And we would go up to UWI every Saturday morning to practice at Matt D's flat. So again, non-stop football. We take like 3 or 4 buses from Portmore. I take a bus from Edgewater to Kingston to Crossroads to Papine, and then walk 2 miles going. You know what I mean? Some little youth. So we used to love the sport, and we did all of that for the sport. So kudos to those 2 coaches who a lot of people don't know about, they've never heard about, but they deserve a lot of respect and they deserve a lot of accolades for developing a group of boys who went on to, without sounding cocky, but went on to win a lot of trophies in the schoolboy level,
Yeah, I see Clennon Clark asking if all played Manning Cup except Buckridge, but I think he said all played. So all went on to win Manning Cup, but Buckridge didn't play.
Correct. Buckridge was the captain for Pepsi, was the captain for the 2 Colts teams that won. Let me put a plug in for myself also. I think I scored both winning goals in those 2 Colts finals. So 1980 Colts, I scored the winner, and 1981 Colts, I scored the winner again.
Yeah. Then we're gonna get to this because you seem to always be scoring in the finals. But
so let's put it this way: I wasn't a great goal scorer. I was a scorer of great goals.
I like that. You need to say that again.
Yeah. So Buckridge, back to Buckridge. Buckridge also was our captain. He was undoubtedly the best player in the age group. No holds barred. I used to look up to him. He captained us. I mean, he was a cut above the rest. And he captained us at Colts. And honestly, I'm hearing different stories. I haven't heard from Buckridge. I haven't heard from Coach Zadie. But you hear a lot of stories going on as to why he never made the team. So I'll just leave it at that and said he definitely deserved to play. He was good enough to play. But for whatever reason, he never played in Manning Cup.
He never
played.
So he never played in that Manning Cup championship team.
He never played Manning Cup at all.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's puzzling to a lot because, as I said, he was the captain and the best players all along, and then never made the Manning Cup team. I don't want to get too much into that.
Yeah, that's
Right?
fine.
I'll let Chris talk about that or whoever else. But yeah, but my respect for him is very high because he was my captain all those years and really good player, really good person.
So you won Coles, one Pepsi, then Coles 2 times.
Yeah.
Were you playing Manning Cup during any of those seasons?
Well, George's was a little different. I mean, so because I attended George's at 10 years old, I played Colts in fifth form. So when I'm graduating from high school, I'm still playing Colts. So what happened was there were older guys there who were in sixth form, or just older guys who deserved a chance to play, right? So naturally, coach gave them the spots that maybe Andrew Price would have gotten or I would have gotten in 1982. So right after we won Colts, all of us went out to try out for the Manning Cup team in 82. And I was sent back to play Colts because I was young enough. And I think Andrew made the squad, but I don't think he actually played 82. So it was extremely competitive. But lucky for me, as I said, I was young enough where, although I didn't play Manning Cup 82, I could go back and play Colts. So then I graduated from high school in 1983 at the age of 16. And then I went to I went to sixth form,
right?
And then was on the 83 team. Made the Manning Cup team in 83 this time. Didn't get much playing time. I think I played 5 minutes, and I respect a player called Paul Littlejohn. I don't know if you know that name, but I will always remember him for what he did, because I was a disgruntled player on the bench, because in my mind, I was good enough to play. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And in my mind, I'm saying there's no way such and such should be playing over me. There's no way I should not be on this team. So I didn't know how to handle that. So I was upset on the bench, sulking on the bench, knowing what I can do, and just never got the chance. So Little John saw that and knew that I was the only forward sub on the bench for one game that we were winning, and he faked an injury. Yep. Little John faked an injury with like 10 minutes left so I could get a run. And that was it. I got like a 7-minute run in 83. First ball I got, I took a shot from half line, trying to score to show the coach that, look, coach, you need to play me. But that was it for me,
So who did you remember? You remember the team that you played against?
It was Trenchtown. It was Trenchtown at Stadium East. Okay. And I think we were leading 5-0 at the time. And Little John faked an injury, and he used to look out for me as a younger player. You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah. So he faked that injury and gave me that chance in 83.
So the question is, was George's winning these seasons, though they were focusing on using the older players? Did they win 82 and 83? Why they would not have wanted to use some of the younger players, or it's just the way the school did its football program at that time?
Well, that's a good question, because when Mr. Zaidi came in 82, we had a really good chance of winning, but that was an incident with an overage player called Kempes. So they made it all the way to, I think, the semifinals. They were on the course to either go to the final or win in 82, and then we got disqualified. So then 83, most of those players stayed, and then they went on to win 83. So you got to remember knowing a Mannings, man. 1983, I was 16 years old. So I was competing for a spot against guys who were 19 or 18 going 19.
Well, you don't want me to get involved in that, because I don't think 19-year-olds should be playing schoolboy football. That's me.
Well, maybe they were 18 going 19, but I was 2-3 years younger than these guys I was competing for a spot with. So my body structure probably wasn't fully developed, and coach knew what he did. Maybe he held me back knowing that I'm hungry and I'm going to explode the next year. But, I'm not sure the reasoning behind it. But as a young player, as I said, it was hard for me to accept, knowing what I could do and knowing that if I got the chance, I would do it. But then, I just used that pent-up anger and came out 1984 with a bang.
Okay, so 84. So George's won in 83.
83, we won the Manning Cup, we won the Walker Cup, and we won the Nutriment Shield. And the leader of that team was, the leading goal scorers were Richard Strawn and Paul Littlejohn.
Okay, because I just saw an Orlando Nicholas saying that Paul Littlejohn came from Arden.
Yes, he did. He transferred over, but his younger brother was at George's from First Farm. So there was some George's connection there. His brother was a Georgian, Delroy.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in class together. So his brother was a Georgian, so it was a natural fit for him to come over too, right? Yeah. So he came over and he helped us, no doubt.
All right. So 84 is your breakout season, really.
84 was my breakout season. I trained really hard in the summer. Bartlett can attest to it. We'd get up at 5 a.m. in the mornings. I would go knock on his window, wake him up. Bartlett, come, we're going down to the beach, because I live in Edgewater, which is very close to Forum, maybe a mile from Forum. So I would, go wake up Bartlett, get my ball, jog down to the beach, train in the water, juggle, push-ups, sit-ups. We trained really hard that summer. And then 84 was my breakout year.
Okay.
There was a lot of hard work behind it.
So just tell us about your 84 season. What were some of the standout moments, and what the Georgian team did that season, or probably the most memorable thing in that season.
Wow. Well, the most memorable thing was the triple champions, right? Because we repeated as Manning Cup champions in 84, which was quite difficult to repeat. We played JC in the final. That first game tied 1-1. I think Potkova had scored, and then I don't remember who scored for George's. And then Issa, the stands was full, stadium was full for that final, the Saturday. And Issa realized that, whoa, this is a good crowd, and did a replay. I don't think there's ever been another Manning Cup replay since then.
I think when Craig Butler was on, he shared about that they actually replayed the game. Yes, he did.
Yes, so the first game tied, and there was so many people in the stands. I guess Issa saw the dollar signs and said ching ching, and then rescheduled the game from Monday evening now, like under the lights. And needless to say, stadium was full again. Ended up winning Manning Cup. They scored first. Mark Morris scored, to me, one of the best goals ever seen at the schoolboy level. The goalkeeper threw a ball out to the JC goalkeeper. His name was, star splash. And he threw a ball out to the wing to one of his teammates, right by the McDonald Tunnel half line right there. And Mark Murray controlled that ball out of the air with one touch. And his second touch was a half volley. And the ball never touched the ground until it hit the back of the net and touched the ground.
From half line?
From close to the half line, brother. And it was a half volley. So anybody who play know how difficult that technique is.
Well, the JC people believe that the keeper made a mistake because he had.
Yeah, they did. They still blame him to this day for both goals. So that was Murray's goal to equalize. And then my goal, we had a goalkeeper named Michael Forbes. Whoa, what a talent. What a talent. This guy did tracks. This guy DJ'd. This guy was a right back. And then in 84, he was on the bench with me in 83. Him and Raymond McCoy were on the bench with me in 83. I got 5 minutes. They got 0 minutes. So it was me, Forbes, and McCoy on the bench. I got 5, they got 0.
Information to share about the minute. You probably
no, man. So I give the whole history. So then 84 came around and Forbes realized that, oh man, it's going to be another year on the bench because someone already occupied that right back spot. So then he's like, you know what? Let me go in goal. And that was his first foray in goal. And he made the All-Manning team in his first attempt at goalkeeping. He was the best goalkeeper in the league. So that speaks volume about the talent of this young man, right?
Yeah.
So back to the game. He had a really good punt. He could really kick the ball. He actually could throw the ball to half line also. But he punted a ball all the way down in the middle of the JC half. And Dennis Zaidi we played 4-3-3, which was me, Roger Lynn, and Cinco. and we would interchange. So anywhere on the front three.
Roger Lynn, the
Yes,
big
sir.
forward. Was on
Yep.
that team? Yeah.
So and we all had blinding speed. So when Forbes kicked that ball out, it was like 3 attackers just chasing after it. So of course the defender started getting nervous. So instead of bucking the ball back out, I think the defender headed it back to the goalkeeper. I think he underestimated my speed. So when he headed it back to the keeper, I intercepted it and caught the keeper on the penalty spot. And then I lobbed it over the keeper for the winning goal.
Okay, so that's a Manning Cup. So you won.
That's the Manning Cup we won that year.
This is the playover Manning Cup in. That's the only. I think that's the only Manning Cup game that was played. I understand that in the history of the Manning Cup that they had a replay basically.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The crowd was so big that they, I think Issa saw that they could make some money and did it again. And that was the winning goal. That lob was the winning goal to win Manning Cup in '84. And then we went on to win the Walker Cup for the second year running. I don't remember who we beat or who scored. And then we went on to win. Mark Murray scored a lot of goals that year too. I was the leading goal scorer that year, but Murray scored some important goals. I think he scored in the Walker Cup and he scored in the Oliver Shield and he scored in the Manning Cup. Murray did. Mark Murray. Yep, another unsung hero.
It seemed like Rajolin wasn't scoring a lot of goals, and he became such a dominant player in the Premier League. He's scoring a lot of goals.
You have to understand, Mannings. Back then we didn't play that many games. You probably play 4 or 5 games, and you're on to the semis and then on to the final. You know what I mean? So if you score 5 goals, that's a goal per game. Unless you were Richard Strachan and Little John who were doing hat tricks each game, then if you score 5 or 6 goals in Manning Cup back then, that would be considered a lot. But Roger scored some important goals, in the Walker Cup, semis, and all those tours. So we all contributed. The whole team contributed. We had Andrew Price back there heading out the balls, bust some tackle upon some youth. We had Nick Zadie. We had Chris Zadie in the middle. And we had my brethren. Can't leave this man out. A baller named Brian Skitter Hamilton. A knock-knee general, yeah?
Yeah.
So we came from...
I always hear about Skitter. Yeah.
Nah, man, them man, they're normal, Mannings. And we came from Portmore together, so we take the bus and, we were very close. So needless to say, whenever he got the ball, I was always the person he was looking for. So, a lot of my goals and a lot of the stuff I did was because of Skitter, no doubt.
So I hear someone here saying that Mark Murray, a.k.a. Serpent.
Yes.
So that he scored the greatest Manning Cup goal ever. I think.
See? So I'm not lying then.
He says that, and he says, a.k.a. Foxy, Michael Forbes.
Yes.
Teach
so
them.
We had some really good talents on that team, Mannings. Murray is a kind of player. Have you ever seen Zidane play?
Yes.
Zidane?
Definitely.
How smooth he is on the ball.
Yeah.
That was Mark Murray. Mark Murray glided. Perfect technique. Strikes the ball very well with both feet. Immaculate touch. Impeccable player. And we were surrounded by talents, man. It was a lot of talent that entered George's in the late 70s. And we stuck together as a group, and in the 80s it all came together. And then we went on to win the Oliver Shield in '84. I think Andrew Price scored a goal, the Oliver Shield, and Mark Murray scored. We beat Rossies that year in '84. So
you defeated Rossies in the Oliver Shield.
In the Oliver Shield in '84. Yes. So if we go back to count the trophies, then we're gone 1 Pepsi, 2 Colts,
right?
2 Walker, 2 Manning, 1 Nutriment, and 1 Oliver Shield. So that's 9 trophies already.
With the same set of players, right? Because they're the same set of you from first, so I'm coming through the system.
Correct, mostly. 83 was a little different because 83 had some older players like Strawn and Daring and Little John and Gary Bolton, Chicken. That man can dribble. Yeah. So they had some older players in 83, but then 84 and 85 was basically the same group of guys from Pepsi and Colts
coming through.
coming
So,
through.
and so now, I mean, 84 was the first time the Manning Cup was announcing like an MVP.
Oh,
Because
yes.
and who was the MVP for the 1984 Manning Cup for the first time in the history of MVP being named?
Wow, that would be yours truly. That would be me.
So
And
the record shows that the first ever MVP for the Manning Cup is Christopher CHIPPA Morgan. That's something for you to remember, people. That is history right there.
yes,
Go
yes,
ahead.
sir. And if I'm honest, I didn't expect that trophy. Such was the competition in Manning Cup at the time, right? And anybody who played during that era, I think we had so much respect for each other. Like, I never saw myself as a better player than any other player. It was mutual respect. So, and I think that's what drove us to be better, because we knew that if you don't perform, then Juvenile go kick off your foot, you know. You understand what I say? Or Rambo go kick off your foot. So we had so much respect for our opponents that drove us to train harder, because we know these guys are coming.
Yes.
So is that respect. So even when I won that MVP, Mannings, man, I didn't expect it. I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised to see, but I was actually surprised, because I thought in my mind that there were players there who were just as deserving as I was.
At
just
St.
as good as
George's or in the Manning Cup in general.
Manning Cup, because the award was given out at the end of All Manning.
Okay.
So it was an All Manning game in Montego Bay. And after the game, they called all of us over together and they announced the winner there. And when they said Christopher, I didn't even get up.
Okay, so the All Manning played against the All Da Costa.
Yes.
And I'm suspecting that the All Manning team won, so they chose the MVP from the All Manning.
The Costa had an MVP too in Linton Stewart from Rossies.
Okay.
Yeah, so Linton Stewart, very solid defender. I think they call him Conk.
Right, Conk. Right.
Yeah, man, really, really solid defender. He won the Costa Cup MVP, and I won the Manning Cup MVP.
So you remember the All Manning team, like some of the players who would have been at that?
Oh yeah. So we had me, we had Michael McDonald Dunga. I think Cover made that team. Who else was on that 84 team? Oh man.
Andrew Price would have been on it.
Andrew Price probably was on it. Some other people may have to jog my memory, but one person I remember is Dunga. I remember Dunga for some reason. I remember Michael McDonald being on that team. I think we wore red and white in the final. And I think I remember Dunga because he wore 16 and I wore 16. So there was a little who can wear the 16 kind of vibe. But we had some really good players that year. I'm going to need some help in remembering them all. But as I said, respect to the ground for every single one of them. Never saw myself as better than any of them. And I think that's what kind of drove me to really train hard so I could be as good as the rest of the players I was playing against or with.
Okay.
So even in my community, Mannings, man, we had a player called Carl Cooper, Gooley, and we had Dale Dugan. I mean, you see them man with the ball, Mannings. You just step back and look. And, you want to be like.
It's so sad sometimes when you talk about football and you bring up name like Wanderers and you don't hear anything about a club like that basically anymore playing football, they had such a rich history when you go back to their days in the local leagues here in Jamaica and the kind of players that they were producing.
Yes.
It is a travesty that they are not there, but
well, you never know what the future holds. Where there's a will, there's a way. Maybe the Wanderers, man, them have something in the works to resurrect it. We'll see. Hopefully.
We'll see.
Yeah, but as I said, back then it was just mutual respect. Everyone respected each other. We all respected each other's games. Although we were rivals on the field, we were friends off the field. So that's kind of how that's how it was set up back then. 1984, after we won the treble, Andrew Price left for college. Chris Zadie left for college. I think Mark Murray left also. So we lost 3 really strong players. And 85, we did okay. 85, we made it all the way to the semi-final of the Manning Cup. All we needed was a tie to go to the final, and we lost, I think, 2-1 to Excelsior. All we needed was a tie, and we scored an own goal to lose the game, and got knocked out of Manning Cup at the semi-final stage. But we went on to win the Walker Cup that year in 1985.
You remember who won Manning Cup in 1985? Who won it?
85 was Kingston College.
Okay.
And, I talk to Skitto regularly, and he'll tell you, boy, Blade, so from Melgo George's, KC never beat we yet. And he's true. KC we beat them twice that year. We beat them in the Roper Cup that year. I scored in both goals. I scored in both games when we beat them that year. So there's no doubt in Brian's mind, Skitto's mind, or my mind that had we gone to the final, we would have won again. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because I spoke to him recently. He said, then Chippa didn't know that KC can't beat it. But one team can't beat it. So it would have been a match, worthy for anyone to see. But we didn't win the Manning Cup. We won the Walker Cup only in 85.
And that was when you went on to college.
Yeah, that Walker Cup final, though, I have to remind you about this goal. It was a free kick from about 25, 30 yards out against one of the best goalkeepers in the competition, Richie Sterling. And I'm bringing it up not to throw any, not to bring up any wounds for the Calabar players, but just, we're talking about the history.
Yeah.
Yeah, but leading up to that game, people see that goal and probably think, man, I buck up, Chippa for score that, I buck up. No, but Dennis Zede had us practicing free kicks all week leading up to the game. So while the defenders were doing their things and the midfielders were doing their thing, he called me and Cinco one side and would lay out like 20 balls at different angles from different distances. And we would spend hours practicing free kicks leading up to the game. Well, hours is an exaggeration. I'm sorry. We would spend a significant amount of time practicing free kicks leading up to the game. I think he probably knew that Juvenile was coming to burn skin.
Yeah, because Juvenile was on that.
Juvenile was on that team. So he knew Juvenile coming to burn skin. So more than likely, we would get a free kick somehow.
Was Daggy Reds on it?
Daggy Reds, Bowled, Bugs, Piranda. Calabar had a really good team.
So because Daggy Reds is also from Portmore and you are from Portmore.
Yeah, man. And Bowled was from Portmore too. From Bridgeport. Daggy Reds was from Independent City with Skitto. So let me just say this, Mannings, man. The difference between George's and the rest of the schools wasn't necessarily the quality of players. I'll be the first to say that. Because the players from the other schools were just as good, if not better than some of the George's players, including myself. The difference was the coaching.
Okay.
And that's no disrespect to any of the other coaches either.
Because you had Dennis Zede as your coach.
Dennis Zede was the coach. He brought something into George's that I don't think anybody else at the schoolboy level knew what was going on at that point. He had us playing some tiki-taka like Barca, Brazil. Yeah, it was amazing. So, all that to say, again, that is where the respect came in for the other players, because I knew growing up in Edgewater, growing up in Portmore, that, them youth are better than me, Gooley better than me, Them youth are better than such and such, So we never ever thought that we were better than other players, because we knew. We played against them, and we knew how good they were. But the difference was the coaching. Mr. Dazivedo, Mr. McDermott, and Dennis Zede, and we stuck together, and they had a nice program that developed us to the level that we were. Okay. So that was 1985. And then after 85 came the juvenile team. But before, there was a juvenile team in 1984 also, which was very surprising to me because I didn't get much game time in 83, but I got called to the Jamaica juvenile team in 84. So I was surprised I got called up. I guess Chung Fa and Jackie Walters and the coaches, because I played minor league for Jackie Walters, so he probably saw my ability.
What team played minor league?
Pardon?
What team was he?
I played minor league for Mountain View. It was a combination of George's, Camperdown, and Excelsior, and one Calabar player in Ferdy Green. We had Dam Spalding, Andrew Williams, R.I.P., Bovell. We had George Malcolm, Scotty Malcolm as the captain. We had Carl Cooper, Andrew Price, Chris Zadie, Nick Zadie, myself, Ferdy Green. So it was a nice group of players coached by Jackie Walters. We went to the final and lost to Dwenny Park, which had another set of some really good ballers, from Dwenny Park, Bugs Peranda, Billy Jack, quite a few Calabar players. And they, I think they beat us 1-0. In the what do you call it, minor league final.
Okay.
So back to 84, Juvenile now. I got invited, as I said, didn't expect to make the team because I'm like, I don't even play Manning Cup. All them man I play Manning Cup. When me do pan Jamaica team, I make Manning Cup team. But you would show up every Saturday and Sunday and they would cut the team. So after you train on Sunday, they call over and they've said, you stay. And then players got cut. And surprisingly, Mannings, man, I made it all the way and was a starter on the team. So I was a starter on that 84 Juvenile team.
Okay. And the 84 team, which was really, though you didn't play a lot in 83.
Yes. Because 83 finished December 83. So come January 84 is when, them start sending out all the invitations. And as I said, I made the cut all the way through to becoming a starter on 84 team, just turning 17 at the end of 1984. So I was starting as a 17-year-old on the under-19 team. So that was 84. Went back to school 85, won Walker Cup, and then left George's for a scholarship to Washington, D.C. But then we also played all schools and Juvenile again in 86. So
okay, that's when you were in college, you played?
On my way to college.
Okay.
So that 86 team now, that was a really good team. That team had Paul Young, Peter Isaacs, Belly Dias, McRae, myself. Did I say Alty Butler?
Oh.
Mikey Campbell. Man, I have the picture. If I found the picture, I would be able to name all of them. But that team, Peter Metro from Dintil. We had a couple guys from Rossi's. It was a really good team. And of course, the coach was Dennis Zadie. And Mannings.
1986 all-school team.
1986 Juvenile team, Jamaica Juvenile team.
Okay. Was Roger Creed on that team?
No, I don't think he was on that team.
Okay.
I don't think he was on that team. But that team, so Mr. Zadie now, he came and he implemented like a camp where the team would stay at the stadium. A lot of people don't know that there are bunks in the stadium. There's housing in the stadium for players.
Up in the
Yes. So we would stay there, and it was a tight-knit group of boys, man. I mean, I tell you, we would eat together, we would hang out together, we would walk over to Nannyville together, we would visit each other's homes when we got released. I would go over to Port Royal, go check Freddie. Freddie would have come, me and Freddie would have go check Metro down at Dunkirk. It was that kind of brotherhood among the team, within the team. And that team was a really good team coached by Dennis Zadie. And I'll never forget this day when we found out Dennis Zadie died. We were at the stadium and he left. He said, guys, going to the World Cup with Jackie Bell to go get some more knowledge, to come back and, pass it on to you guys. And I remember the morning, I think it was a Sunday morning, we had a practice game versus Swallowfield. And I think Swallowfield then had all the national team players, Jair, Linval McKenzie, Cephas, you name it. I think Mendel was there at the time.
Right, Mendel, right.
Yes, so all of them were there. Mannings, we bought them on the stadium turf one Sunday morning. Make Freddie tell you. We run some ball around the big man, them and say, brother. I mean, ball reached them. We were like in a zone. It's like everything that Zadie taught us clicked that morning. It clicked. And literally clicked. It was that we were unstoppable. The older men couldn't keep up with us. And I kid you not. And then I remember seen Betty Walker, Michael Betty Walker, and Chris, because Chris was too old for the 86 team, running down McDonald Tunnel to come get Nick off the field to say coach died. And we were all in shock. You know,
Yeah.
I literally sat in the tunnel there, just didn't know what to do. Like, really? Coach dead? And that was basically it for my football career in Jamaica.
Oh,
And
wow.
then ended up.
Well,
So before coach died, though,
just before you got there,
Yeah.
Clennon Clark is asking who were the players on the 84 juvenile team. If
So
you remember.
84, I know Andrew Price definitely, because he took a shot after my head and called it a pass. We laugh about it to this day. Pass a ball to my head, man. I mean, I tell you, the ball come with so much speed, I had to duck. But so Andrew Price was definitely one. There was a player who was really good. Mikey Frey was one. I think Mikey McDonald Dunga was one. Who else was on that team? Those were the players I remember because I was close to those guys. But obviously there were more. But Price, Dunga, Mikey Frey, myself, and I really can't remember the other players at this
No
point.
problem, man. Somebody will refresh your memory, but you were going to go on to our next story before you said right before coach died. So you're going
Yeah, so we also played all school in 85. And this all schools team now was a combination of the All De Costa with Capel Donaldson, Donald Hewitt, and with the All Manning team, myself, Nick Zade, Belly Dias. And we played against a team from Trinidad, and I think we beat them 2-1. We beat them. I had a goal and an assist in that game. And that's where I got a scholarship offer from that game, because during the all school games, the college scouts would come down and they would try to recruit you from, after they see you play. So I got recruited to Columbia University, which was an Ivy League school. But my grades, although good, were not good enough for Ivy League, because Ivy League is a totally different level of academics, right? So they recommended that I go to a prep school, like a college prep school, and then from college prep transfer to Columbia. But I had already repeated a year in sixth form, and I was like, I already repeated. And I didn't want to repeat another grade, so I just took the next best opportunity, which was to American University. But after I left in 85, I could still play. I had another year in 86. I could still play 86. So I left early, so to speak.
Okay.
And then
Okay, go ahead.
And then
what was your college career like, and how you transition into the national team and out of football into coaching?
Okay, so 86 juvenile team, we beat Cuba in Jamaica 2-0. I think Mr. Zady was alive. Paul Young scored an overhead kick and I scored a volley. That was our international debut. My first international game, scored against Cuba. We beat them 2-0, and then in between the replay is when Mr. Zady died.
Okay.
So everything, just kind of unraveled. A new coach came in, and he brought players in that Mr. Zade had already dropped. And there was, it was just a lot of confusion. We went to Cuba and we got beat 3-0 by Cuba, so we didn't advance. But luckily, I think they used an overage player, so we still ended up going to Trinidad to the I think it was like the Hex, whatever they call it, where the top 3 teams would go to the Youth World Cup. We didn't do too well. There was just too much drama going on. As I said, we lost our coach. The nucleus of players that Mr. Zady had, and that was finally getting it, kind of changed. New coach, new players, and it got a little disjointed. So we weren't that successful. And right after that tournament, matter of fact, before we went to Trinidad for the tournament, I had gone to my school because my coach wanted me up there for preseason. So I flew to DC for my preseason with my new college. And then from DC, I flew to Trinidad to meet the team in Trinidad. And then right after Trinidad, they flew me back to my college in DC. So I went to American University in 1986. Now, that school, they made it to the NCAA final in 85. So they made it all the way to the NCAA Division I final in 1985. and they lost to UCLA after 8 overtimes. I think it's a record for the amount of overtimes, but they lost. So when I went there in 86, we were ranked number 2 in the country. So we were the second ranked team in the country when I went there. So they brought me there to replace the leading goal scorer, a guy called Mike Brady. He was averaging 20 goals per season. He won the Herman Trophy that year. He was voted the best college player in 85. And he graduated, so the coach came and got me to replace him. But, unfortunately for me, I started out really well. My first game in college, as I said, we were ranked number 2 in the country. UCLA was number 1. American U was number 2. So we had a very difficult schedule because the way the college thing works, everybody wants to play a ranked team to beat you so they can get rankings. So, we would play all the top teams. We had pretty much the toughest schedule in the country that year in 1986. So it was my first year in America. No family. It was basically an all-white school. I had a couple of Trinidadian players there. One called David Nakid, really good friend of mine.
Nakid. Yes, I know.
David Nakid from Trinidad.
Right.
Yeah, he was a big brother to me. He was a senior when I was a freshman. And he saw my ability, saw my skill level. Matter of fact, he'll tell you I'm the only person to ever salad him. He couldn't believe. Yeah, so he'll tell you that story. But he took me under his wings. And unfortunately for me, I scored my first game for AU. We played against a team called Anianta up in upstate New York. Mannings, I don't know what I ate that day, but them couldn't touch me. I was fresh from Jamaica, right?
Yes.
And me I brought them up, me I shift them, me I pile them, me I salad them, score. And my first goal, first 15 minutes of my college career, I'm a score. And, boom, boom, boom. Not knowing that these coaches up here actually scout games. So the next game we played, there I am trying to do the same thing, but it's 3 defenders around me now, kicking the hell out of me. And then I guess word got out that AU has this little forward who dangerous. And the next game was against Clemson at a tournament in George Mason. And that's when they blew my knee out.
Whoa.
Yeah, I remember playing against...
Third game?
Yep.
Whoa.
I remember playing against these guys. Bruce Murray played for Clemson, U.S. national team legend. Eric Eichmann was playing for Clemson, U.S. national team legend. I was playing against these guys as a freshman, running rings around them. And then they had this big black, big African-American guy in the back. And the man whopped me and damaged my knee. And it was all downhill from there with my knee until I had surgery. So college was a little rocky for me. And I really didn't start coming around until my junior year. Because then my sophomore year, I didn't redshirt, but I didn't play much because of my knee injury. But then I finally got over it in my junior year, became the leading goal scorer for the team in my junior and my senior year. I didn't make All-America. It was, but I made the All-Conference, and I finished my college career the leading scorer for the university and making the All-Conference team. I just didn't make the All-America team. It was a lot more, I think it was very difficult at that time because it was Division I. Playing against UVAs, the University of Maryland's. These are like top-notch colleges. So the competition was very, very, very difficult.
And so during this time, you're not representing Jamaica at any level.
Yeah, Mannings. During this time, I'm playing humble calf. During this time, I'm playing some really good ball, enjoying myself, playing against Bumi Isaacs. Because he went to Howard, which was right down the road. I went to AU. So, we were playing against each other, playing some good ball. But all the stuff all my accomplishments, all my clippings, all my accolades, I kind of kept it to myself. Because, back then, my mindset was, if you show people these things, you're a show off. So I kept it close to myself. So all of my clippings, I never sent it Jamaica to go in the paper. I never sent it anywhere. I have all of them. Matter of fact, some of them still in my room here in Jamaica here. As I'm going through them, I'm discovering more and more. So I never people probably thought I stopped playing. So basically out of mind. Outer sight, outer mind. That's the saying.
Yeah, outer sight, outer mind.
Outer sight, outer mind. But I would come back during the Christmas break and I would play for Wanderers because Wanderers was in the National League at that point.
Oh, you actually played for Wanderers in the National League.
Yeah, so I would come back. You know, I would be home for a month and I would play a couple of National League games for Wanderers. Remember playing against Boys Town, scoring a free kick from about 30 yards out again down a Collie Smith Drive. And referee called it back for offsides. I remember that. I remember going down to Reno playing against Hagland.
When you came back and you play for Wanderers and you go down there and go, oh no, Andrew Price would have been in college, so you would not have played against him.
Yeah, exactly. No, he wasn't there. Joe, it was versus Joe Downer, Devon Hardware, Lenny Hyde. It was that group of players.
Okay.
Yeah,
you were talking about going down to Reno.
Yeah, I went down to Reno, played against Hagler, Leroy Foster, played against all those guys. And then I ended up playing for Hazard 1 year also.
Okay, that's when Wanderers were out of the league.
Yeah, Wanderers was out of the league, and in the latter part, I ended up playing for Hazard also. Played a couple of games for Hazard with Paul Young and those guys. I think Mr. Reed was the coach manager at the time.
Yeah. Okay, so though you were playing, I mean, sporadically in Jamaica, you were just not recognized or seen.
For whatever reason. Yeah, for whatever reason. It just never worked. It just never worked for me. Never worked out for me.
Yeah. What did you say to those players? Like, because there are several Jamaicans now getting scholarships. More and more players are getting scholarship to go into university, even more so than in your time, to further educate themselves. But they really want to have a career in football. And they probably, like what you just said, they're probably out of sight and they have gone out of mind, right? Yes. Having gone through what you went through, what would be your advice to players in a similar situation? No.
Well, they have to market themselves, and it's a lot easier to do now with social media. So they have to market themselves. Most games at the college level they're now taped, so they can get professionals to edit those tapes and show highlights, and they need to send the clippings to the Football Federation. They need to do everything that I didn't do, which is basically get your information out there and market yourself, become a brand. So that would be my advice to them, to make sure to market themselves.
Well, with all of this, though, part of the other thing is that you're actually called to the national team. I know at one point when Simoes was here, you were called in along with Ultimate Butler, Paul Young, and a lot of these guys out of the States, because there's always been this feel like players from Jamaica who play in the college system are not good enough because America doesn't have a soccer culture. I think that is changing now, but you were called to the national team during the Simoes era.
Correct, I was. So the story behind that was there was a player who played for Howard University called Chris Thomas. He played for Cornwall. So he would, during the qualifiers, he would go to Jamaica and play. And I reached out to him and said, Chris, how did you get in? Because I was at that point I was playing with Jamaica Nats.
Right. Somebody just put that in.
So at that time I was playing with Jamaica Nats, still, doing fairly well, holding my own, doing well. And I still had that urge, I still had the aspirations to play for Jamaica, right? Like all players do. So I reached out to Chris and said, Chris, how did you get in? And he said, boy, CHIPPA, you have to go send an email and da-da-da-da. So I sent an email to the federation, didn't get a response, but my annual trip to Jamaica was normally during the Christmas time. And I actually drove up to the federation. I think they were somewhere up in New Kingston at that point. Not New Kingston, off Trafalgar Road, somewhere around there. And I went up there and they said the team is going to Braco Village for a training camp. And I straight out asked, can I go? And they're like, sure. But Simoes wasn't there. Montesa was there.
Okay.
So I spent the weekend there with them, trained with them. I think I did well enough where Montesa probably told Simoes that, look, you need to look at this player again one more time. And then that's when I got the invite in I think April or May, along with Greg Simmons, Bruce Lynn, Fitzroy Simpson, Paul Hall, Dion Burton. That's when all the English guys came in. Freddie Breckman.
Okay.
So that was the time I went down there again.
Okay. But it never, I mean, it never worked out because you, yeah.
Yeah, that didn't work out for a variety of reasons. So it's not a lack of trying. True story. After the first cut with the English players, Simoes picked 5 people. I think 5 of them were English. And Fitzroy Simpson came over to me, and he was extremely surprised that I didn't make the team. He was like, "Chippa, you didn't make the team?" And I said, No, Fitzy, didn't make it. And him said, he took off his shoes that he was wearing. It was a pair of Asics. And he took off his shoes and he gave it to me and said, "You're a good player. Hold this." And I brought it over and gave it to a kid over where I live. But it never worked out. And even after that, I still tried. I went to Simoes. Somebody said to me, "Chippa, you can go talk to Simoes, tell him that you're trying to get back in shape and he'll allow you to practice with the team." So I went to him and said, "Coach, thanks for giving me the opportunity. I know I didn't make the team, but I want to go play National League. Can I continue practicing?" And he's like, "Sure." So then I started commuting from Portmore up to the training sessions.
Yeah.
And I started to find my farm now, Mannings, man. I'm home now, right? I returned back home. I wasn't visiting. I actually moved all my stuff home, all my belongings, returned home.
Just because you wanted to be on the team?
Brother, I want to play football. It's football I want to play.
Oh, geez.
So I returned home for good, trying to pursue that. This was because I was getting older. I was 29, 30. This was it. This is now or never. And never worked out. But I was finding my farm. I started to get better and better and better. I remember. Maybe that's what Donald Fowlis you were talking about, the youth who give my warm time.
Yes.
Because I really started to do well. Because, start training on the beach again and yam and banana start working and, you know what I mean? Feel good, work right back in. And then it just never worked out. So my plan then was to play National League. And Bruce Lynn gave me a call, said, "Are you playing?" I said, "No." He said, "Come to Constant Spring." Thought about it. But then Jer told me to come to Harborview because he was a player coach. So Jer was like, "Yo, you're playing a ball?" I said, "Might go Constant Spring." And them said, "No, man, come to Harborview. Me are the player coach." So I ended up at Harborview for a minute. And that didn't work out either. So then, after that, I decided to go back to the States because all during that time, even though I wasn't playing football, I was still qualified to work. So I didn't touch much on my academic achievements, but during college, I did a bachelor's degree in accounting, and all while playing and pursuing that professional career, I did a master's degree also in finance.
Oh.
So I have an advanced degree in finance and a bachelor's degree in accounting. So when I came to Jamaica and football didn't work out, I tried to go into the workforce.
Yes.
And that didn't work out either. So, my father looked at me and said, "Chris, I know you love Jamaica. I know you want to be here with me and your mom, but you can't eat sunshine." Because I never had a job. I mean, I had a job in America. I left my job, came here trying to find a job. Football never worked out. Couldn't get a job. He saw that I was getting depressed, right? And him said, "You might as well go back to America, go be with your woman and start your family." And went back to America. Still didn't give up hope though, Mannings. So I went back to America, playing on the circuit. And here comes an opportunity now to play on a semi-professional team called the Washington Mustangs.
Okay.
So they had just, that was their first year. They just started. It was owned by a bunch of Salvadorians, some people from El Salvador. And they had a tryout and we went. I made the team. I was the only Jamaican starter on the team. I think Danny and some other guys were on the team also, but I was the only starter, the Jamaican starter. They've kind of focused more on the Latin players. And I started the first game in North Carolina versus, I think, North Carolina Railhawks. We beat them 1-0, and I scored the winner. So I scored the first goal for the Washington Mustangs franchise. First ever goal for the franchise was me. And the next game, as I said, it was a bunch of El Salvadorians. So the focus was on this guy who played for the El Salvador national team called Suazo. So they were putting him as the, what do you call it, the franchise player.
Yes.
But lo and behold, here comes the Yardman now. The first game, done the place and scored the goal. And you understand? Next game, they moved me to left back. Remember what I'm just saying now? The first game at the first season at the franchise, I scored in the game, win the game, and the next game they moved me to defense. So they could not play me, but I guess they didn't want me to shine over their players, so they put me in defense. Played that game, got a hamstring injury, and I just never went back after that because the politics is something I don't really handle very well.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I saw the politics behind it, I just didn't bother to go back. But then there was the goalkeeper on the Washington Mustang team. He played in another league called the Copa Taca, which is another Salvadorian league. This league was played down by the RFK Stadium. So this was a league where you would play and you would get paid. They would actually pay you to play. So I would get like $120 per game. And then if you score, guys would gamble on the game. And if you score a goal, you probably pick up another $200 from the guys who gambled and won. So you believe in the field with $200-$300 on a Sunday. You understand? So I did that league for a while. I invited quite a few players down there. I think I invited Paul Young down there once to come play. So Paul, he played in that league. I invited Metro. Metro was in DC. And there's a reason why I invited Metro, because I was the only black player in the league. And I was constantly being racially abused.
Okay.
So they would call me nigger. They would call me monkey. And, they would basically want to beat me up because I would score every game I would score on them.
You know what? So what? Because there has been this ongoing debate in the last couple of years about the whole monkey chant and all of those things. How did you? Because some people are saying that the player should walk off, not play. Some are saying that as long as you're getting your money, it doesn't matter. Just stay and play because no man are touching you, and let them say whatever they want to say.
Well, it's easier said than done. But when somebody's going to look you in your face and call you a nigger bastard, monkey bastard, you want to retaliate. And, unfortunately, I did. So what I would do is I would spit in their faces. Believe it or not. Yeah, I did. So the first guy called me a nigger. I was like, what? And then when I saw it becoming a habit, then I would start to retaliate. If them come in my face and talk the crap, I would spit in them face. So, of course, I was a marked man because not only was I scoring the goals, but I wasn't putting up with the BS.
Whoa.
So
you're the only black
at one point, I was the only black man there. So I said, you know what? I need some support. So I got some support from Metro and from, Paulie. I guess Garfield Shaw, one left, ended up down there. I got Kevin, another guy called Kevin, call him Red Clown. I took Kevin down there with me. So I brought a lot of guys, onto the scene with me. And I remember them actually, Mannings, really unfortunate incident after a semi-final game. I scored the goal to go to the final again. And the team that we beat apparently was a team that I had disrespected by spitting on one of the players, and they remembered. So after the game, I would get a meal ticket. And I took the meal ticket to go get my meal, and they surrounded me, about 4 or 5 of them, and start calling me monkey and start pushing me around and punch me in the face, start beating me up. Yeah.
The things we go through, and people don't know these things, when people talk about the kind of things that people go through sometimes, people think it's a joke. People don't believe that these things actually exist.
No, man. Brethren, they almost killed me. It's an iron pipe to my head. The man them lit me in my head with an iron pipe. My white shirt was soaked in blood.
So what about your teammates that were there?
Remember what I said, we finished playing and they were sitting down and I walked by myself to go get my food. So they caught me by myself.
Whoa.
But then after the ruckus, Metro came. Thank God Metro come, and I had Metro there with me, and them hit me one time, and then I go for the killer blow now, and Metro come and hold the pipe. You know what I mean? And police came and stuff and thing, and we made it out safely. And I ended up going back down there.
Whoa.
To go play I ended up going back there to play the finals because I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let these guys intimidate me. So I ended up going back down there. The finals were gonna be like 2 or 3 weeks after the semis. So my head had healed. And I went back to play the finals. And again, I scored in the finals. But then some guys on my own team now started to fight against me, telling me to jog back, run back. I said, look, I'm the goal scorer. Why you want me to run back? Just get me the balls and I'll score. And they influenced the coach to take me off the field. So we were leading 1-0 from a goal, courtesy of yours truly. They took me off the field. Game ended up tying 1-1. Ended up going to penalty kicks. And the guy who they brought on for me missed the penalty. So needless to say, everybody was upset at me.
Yeah.
So
At
what
you?
yeah, at me.
But didn't the coach take you off?
Yeah, the coach take me out, but no, them vex. So them look somebody for vex with. So of course, you know, let's rush the nigga again. So what I did, I just before the game ended, I walked all the way up to the top of the stands and put my back against the wall so nobody could approach me from behind. You understand? Yeah. And that way I'd be able to see everybody who was walking up. So in other words, them couldn't rush me. And then I didn't have anything in my bag, but I pretended like I had something in my bag. So I had my bag in front of me and kept my hand in my bag. You understand? So nobody knew if I had a weapon or what was in the bag, but nobody came close. So I just stood there for the rest of the game, watching the game. I'm back against the wall with my hand in my bag and just watching the game. And then when the crowd kind of eased off, I went, collected my money. And even that was a warm time. They acted like they didn't want to give me the money. Collected my money and left. And then and that was it for that league.
Okay.
And then after that league, here comes the MLS. MLS is coming. 1994, the MLS is coming. The MLS is coming. And they had this big tryouts, hundreds of players. The tryouts was at George Mason University. Hundreds of players. I remember Paul Newman from Dintil fame.
Yes.
I remember seeing him there. People from as far as Boston to Virginia all came into to George Mason. Hundreds of players. And they would set up different fields, 4v4 fields. And after every 4v4 game, they would cut 4 players. And they did this for 2 days. And I made every single cut to the final 24. So the final 24 now, we had to show up at Georgetown University the Monday morning. Now them time I was soaring up. I would play all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and we had to get up and do it again the Monday morning. So I remember 3 Jamaican players made the final cut. It was myself, it was Leon, it was Fairweather Shatty.
Leon Fairweather.
Leon Fairweather made the cut, and Carlton Briscoe made the cut.
Leon Fairweather is also from Dintil.
Yep, from Dintil.
Yeah.
So Leon Fairweather made the cut to go to play that Monday morning, and Briscoe made the cut to play the Monday morning. So of the 25 people, I think we were the 3 Jamaicans there. And then played that game, scored a banger. I remember that goal, can't forget that goal. Someone passed me a ball from the left-hand side of the 18-yard box. I'm on the right-hand side of the 18, right at the tip of the 18. And my first touch was to set it up. And my second touch was a shot that went to the diagonally opposite upper V. So 2 touches, first touch, boom, second touch, rifle it, straight across, top bins, they call it. And at that point, I knew that there's no way I can make this team because nobody else did that for the whole day, right? So that was the MLS. And then, we went back and they said, look out for the guys who made the cut. You're going to receive a letter from the MLS to come to the combine. And I did receive that letter to go to the combine. But again, that didn't work out. right? So a lot of stuff. So it's just like football wasn't meant to be for me.
So you, Leon, all three of you went to the combines? Or were
Well, all
supposed
three of us made it to the final 25.
Okay.
And then from the final 25, they were going to invite people to the combine. So they were going to even cut the 25 more.
Right.
Because this was the combine for the DC area. Then they probably had one for the south and for the west, and I had it all over the country.
Okay.
So they were looking for talent. So after 25, they probably invited maybe 5 or 6 players to actually fly to California for the combine.
Combines. Okay.
Yeah. So I received that letter. Came to Jamaica again for Christmas to practice on the beach, training, doing my normal routine, getting fit. Because at this point now I'm like 29, 30. So running out of time, right? And it just never worked out for me. And that's kind of when I just gave up on pursuing a professional career. Actually went to England also, Mannings, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know, but I was born in England. So I have a British passport and a Jamaican passport. So I went to England to say, man, this is it. I must can make it here. Because they have a lot of leagues and a lot of teams. But again, my lack of knowledge prevented me, because when I got there, Paul Young told me to call the coach from Bury Football Club. At the time, Shaka Hislop, the goalkeeper, he was at West Ham at the time.
Yes.
And I used to play against Shaka because he was at Howard. And I remember scoring a hat-trick against Shaka. But he was at West Ham.
At American University.
Yeah, when I was at AU, I would play against Shaka. He was at Howard with Bumi Isaacs and Chris Thomas and all those guys. But then he was playing pro he was born in England also. So he left for England long before I did. So he was in the system and in the circuit. And then he started playing for West Ham. So when I got to England, I called him. I didn't get through to him. And I called Paul Young. And Paul Young said, yo, Blade, here's a number for a coach from Bury. Call this man. So I called him, told him who I was. And the first question he asked me was, do you have a football resume? I was like, what? What's that? He's like, a resume. Do you have a resume? I'm like, no. So by the time I figure out resume and all them things, it was time for me to go back to America. So that was it. So it's not because I lack of trying why I didn't.
Lack of knowledge.
Yeah, it's a lack of knowledge and a lack of guidance.
Yeah.
You understand? So it's very important for these players nowadays to make sure they're surrounded by people with know-how of the system and what is required to make it there.
So, something that you said earlier that I want to kind of go back to. You said that Dennis Zady brought something to the football. He brought this kind of tiki-taki playing in that Georges team that was so phenomenal that you won so many things, right? But looking at football today, like you can probably focus on the schoolboy level or even going to your days at Wanderers. What are the significant differences? Has it improved? Is it better? Has it become stagnant? Has it declined?
Well, to be honest, it wouldn't be fair for me to comment on that because I haven't been here to see it. Right? So I know what Mr. Zady did. I know what we did at George's. But I can't say because I don't know what, Aleman did at Stats when they won that year or any of the other coaches did. I don't know. I don't know what, Coach Jackie Walters was doing when he won all those trophies. So I can't say it has stagnated. And it's very difficult to compare eras, right? So that conversation, is a little touchy. It causes a little divide because the guys from my era and before are saying, oh, the young boy, they're not good. And the young boys are saying, oh, them old man, they are living at the past. So we kind of need to bridge that divide and just realize that their talent doesn't change. The environment may change, but if a footballer is talented, he would have been able to succeed in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, into the 2000s and beyond. Because it's your talent, right? Now, what makes a player get better also is the environment that they're in, which is why I said that I wasn't better than any other player, but the environment I was in at St. George's was what helped us to be a little better than the others as far as the team goes. So, as I said, I watched a recent Manning Cup game, and I was watching the highlights. Coach Jackie Walters posted the highlights of a player from a school in the country, and I was watching the game, and I'm like, these guys are playing good soccer. They're playing good football. So I wouldn't go as far as to say it has stagnated, because I saw it, and I was impressed with the way the guys were moving the ball. So there are some coaches out there who are doing the thing, no doubt. And just like in America, there are some coaches out there who are hustling the sport. It's no different from where I coach in America. You have coaches who are really trying to teach the boys, and you have some out there who just hustling the sport. And when I say hustle the sport, they just show up, throw down some cones, and that's it. They're not taking the time to make the coaching points and teach the kids the right technique. And you understand? So it's a case-by-case situation. I can't use one paintbrush and say our era was better than this era, because in this era there are players who are just as good as players from my era, and there are coaches who are just as good.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, just as bad also.
Yeah. All right. So you are coaching now in the Washington area, I think Academy, Maryland, I think.
Yes.
You're connected to a club there. I think you deal with academy players.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
What you can tell us about your coaching acumen or pedigree? What qualification do you have? What age group do you work with?
Okay. Sure. True story. When I didn't want to coach, but I have two sons, and I handed them over I used to live in Miami at the time, and fortunately for me, they built a nice facility literally across the street from where I lived. So I took my sons over there and signed them up, and doing the parent thing, just sitting in a lounge chair watching, and I'm seeing this guy teaching my son how to control a ball with his studs, with the bottom of his foot. And I look at my wife and I said, I'm paying this guy to teach my son that? I said, no way. So that's how I got into coaching. And I did it voluntarily at first, coaching some rec kids. And I honestly, when I started, Omar, I didn't know what to do. As good as a player was, I didn't know what to do as a coach, especially for a youth coach, for a 5 or a 6 or a 7-year-old kid. What do you do? And if you ask a lot of coaches now, they still don't know what to do. So there are certain activities that you have to give those guys based on, the psychology, and just based on their age. So that's how I got into coaching, volunteering. And then I realized that there are some coaches out there who, as I said, are hustling the sport. They don't know half of the ball that we know. They never played at the level that we played. But they were coaches and they were making money and were respected as coaches. I'm like, then hold that.
Yeah.
So then, my wife said, Chris, you need to go do your license. You need to go coach. So I started coaching. Unfortunately for me, I didn't play professional. When you play professional, you're exempt from all the lower level licenses.
Right. You get exempt.
When you're a pro, you start with the B.
Right.
Because I never got the chance to play pro, I had to start at the F.
Right.
So I did my F license, I did my E license, I did a national D license, I did a national C license, and a national B license. And as I was coaching all these years, I realized that I prefer to coach the younger kids between ages 8 to 12. I really enjoy it, because once them reach 13, them start getting a warm time. Not to mention 16, they know everything. Can't deal with that. It was more productive for me to coach the younger kids who would listen. You tell them jump, they said, how high, coach? You tell a 16-year-old to jump, him say, why? So I just start. So because of that, I went and I did a national youth license also. So I have an F, an E, a D, a C, a B, and a national youth. So I have 6 U.S. Soccer Federation licenses. And I've been coaching for the past, 20 years. But again, Mannings, it goes back to that humble calf thing again. I recently just started posting pictures of me and my team practicing and playing. I recently just started doing that. because I realized that if I want to get into coaching, then people need to know that I'm coaching.
Yeah, because a lot of people didn't know that you coach. A lot of people didn't. Everybody thought like you're working in some area of finance. I mean, like, unless they're really in your circle.
I do. I do have a full-time job. I do have a full-time job, but I also coach 2 teams. So I coach a rec team, which is just some kids who want to play. And I do that because if you can coach those guys who have 2 left foot, you can't coach anybody else. And that was told to me by a gentleman by the name of Lenny Taylor. Lenny Taylor, renowned football player, played with Pele at the Cosmos, renowned Jamaican. Those who in the football circle know who he is. So when I first started out, I played against a team of his, and he gave me 6 love. And it was I had a very weak team because of the politics and the Jamaican coaches will tell you a lot of times they give you the players who have 2 left foot for you to coach to build them up, and then they, take them from there. So anyways, I have my team with 11 players with 2 left foot. Get a hot 6 love from Lenny Taylor. I went over to him and said, boy, Mr. Taylor, this is what I have to work with now. You see it? And him said, Chippa, don't worry yourself. If you can't coach these kids, you can't coach anybody. You understand? So I continue to coach these rec players because that's what true coaching is about. If you can get a kid who can control or pass or do anything, and then you can make him do that, then you're a coach. So it's a lot easier to get players who are already developed and you just manage them. That's management. But then coaching them, teaching them how to open their hips to receive, teaching them to make eye contact before they make the pass. You understand? All these little coaching points and tips. Yes.
When you get the skill player that is managing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's managing. If I get a bunch of kids who already can do all that stuff, then I can more focus on tactics now, right? Because I already have the technique down. It's kind of just managing them and keeping them positive and all that stuff. But if you get a bunch of players who can't play, brother, you have to teach them how to control with the inside of them foot, with the outside of them foot, how to receive it in the direction that they're going. Open your hips to receive, dribble, cut with, you have to go from basics. And, the more I did it with those kids, the more I realized that I enjoyed it because I started to see results. And, I enjoyed it because I could see the fruits of my labor. So I coach a rec team and I coach an academy team, and they're both under 12. So the academy team is at a club called Bethesda Soccer Club, which is one of the MLS Next clubs. It's one of the biggest clubs in the DMV, in DC, Maryland, Virginia area. It's a club that, sends at least 30 or 40 kids to colleges every year. So it's a well-respected, very big club in the area. Couple national team players come from the club, really big club. So I have an academy team there, and I didn't just get the academy team. This was after 4 years of proving myself with a fifth level team, because you have academy, blue, white, green. I started out with a gray team, the 5th level team, and I had to prove myself as qualified as I was and as much knowledge of the game I had to prove myself. And now I have an academy team, and even though it's an academy team, it's still not the top academy team. It's like the 2nd or 3rd level academy team, but it's an academy team nonetheless. So I'm grateful. So I still do that. But that can't really pay the bill them, so I still have to work and a regular job.
7 to 5.
Yeah, I still have to do my 7 to 5 job. But, coaching, I still do a rec team and a travel team.
All right. So let me ask, because you're making some very important point. I see Clennon Clark here saying, Devon Porter said initially that Lenny Taylor is a big coach. Clennon Clark says that Lenny Taylor, big coach, was turned on by the JFF. He's a coaching instructor. Fabian Full says that you need to help the coach the JPL players. Them they can't control a ball.
Well, anybody who knows me, anybody who is close to me, will tell you that's my dream.
The coach in Jamaica?
Yeah. Not just in Jamaica, but the younger youths.
Yeah, like are you 15, you 17, you 12?
That's too old. Like primary school, prep school, because so you have a thing called.
Talk to me about that. About the most important stage of a player's coaching development or learning development?
9 to 12.
9 to 12. Talk to me.
It's called the golden age of learning. 9 to 12. If they miss out that, then it's not that they can't grasp it, but it's a little more difficult. So 9 to 12 is the most important stage of any football career, because that's where you learn the proper technique. You learn some basic tactics, some basic 1v1s, 2v2s, nothing too major. And, you know, you develop the right mindset, because football is, the coaches will tell you, they divide football into 4 pillars, right? I put up 5 fingers, but 4 pillars. First one being technique, which is how you control, how you pass, how you shoot, how you head. Then you have tactics, which is the decision-making behind those techniques. When do I dribble? When do I pass? You understand? Where? Why? So you're answering all those questions in tactics. And then you have the physical, which Jamaicans are blessed with, which is speed, agility, coordination, strength. And then one of the most important parts is the mental also, right? So when you're coaching kids or when you're coaching players, you have to develop every single one of those facets. Now, at the different stages of development, you focus on different facets. So with the little kids 9 to 12, you don't really need to work too much on physical, other than some coordination and agility. But you don't need them to run 12 laps, forget fit, or run 2 miles, forget fit. That don't make sense. That stage, you focus more on technique.
Yeah.
So make sure them understand how to receive and pass and shoot and dribble and head and do all those things. That's the most. So if you had a pie and you were to divide it up, at the 9 to 12 age group, at least 50 to 60% of that pie should be technique. And then let's say 50% of it should be technique. Another portion for tactics and the mental and the physical aspect of it. And as you move up along the age spectrum, then you tweak that, right? You work a little less on technique, a little more on tactics, and you keep manipulating that pie to suit the purpose. So there's a method to the madness, and I'm hopeful that I'll get the opportunity to come out and actually implement it here.
I like that, because I think I've often heard that people say that Jamaica at the youth level are as talented as anywhere else in terms of kids at the younger level.
That's true.
Yeah, but something seems to happen as our kids get older. You don't want to say they get worse, but the quality begins to be separated. Like some people see, all of a sudden you'd say, how did these guys who Jamaica could compete with at 15 are so blessed at 20, super talented, when our players, quote unquote, would look ordinary?
So it goes back to the
focus on the pillars. Go ahead.
It goes back to the 4 pillars again. Exactly. It goes back to the 4 pillars again. So what the US is doing now, even at my club, they have it. They have the boys playing futsal, which is for us in Jamaica is scrimmage. You set up 2 goals. I mean, it's a little more organized than scrimmage, but it's basically a small-sided game where 4 or 5 players, what we call scrimmage. You set up 2 goals and you broke, and you learn the game through playing. Now they're doing that all over the US. So in Jamaica, naturally, we are able to compete because our technical ability was developed playing scrimmage on the feet, in our communities all over the place, salada kick, whatever it is. So we can compete. As a matter of fact, we're more skillful at that age. The physical part of it also, we're naturally blessed with it. We are go to shop. We have to run from the money. We come try rob your lunch money when you go to school in the morning. You understand? So climb mango tree, pick up the lady Aki next door. So we naturally have that physical aspect. But the most important part, and I think and it failed me also, was the mental. So we're able to compete physically, we're able to compete technically, tactically, we can hold our own, but then it's the mental part that I think where we falter. And that has to be you have to start developing that from an early age. From an early age. I mean, I don't have to tell you about the horror stories of all these talented footballers in Jamaica, what we used to do, right? Did I get cut off?
No, man, we're hearing you. We're hearing you.
Okay. Yeah. You know, the mentality of a lot of us, including myself, our mental wasn't correct at that stage, right? We always thought Manning Cup, you name a call, you a star. You know what I mean? You sit down on the corner, bad man them hail you up. Yes, brethren, yes, baller. You know, you have a girl, da. And that was it for us. We never really thought serious. Yes, the mentality wasn't there to say, yo, you guys can really make something out of this game, you know. So once we get that mental part down pat, I think you'll see a lot more professional players. We have a lot of professional players, but you see a lot more players doing better than they currently are doing now.
Yeah,
that's just my 2 cents.
Very, very good. I'm going to shoot a couple of comments. Robert Sanchez says, Mannings man, CHIPPA is an Arsenal diehearted. I was wondering how you sound so smart, It can't be just St. George's alone. But now I'm understanding that both of us are Arsenal diehards. So that's part of the football.
Gunners all the time.
Yeah. Joe Downer says, blessed day, Mannings man, and your guest, Mr. CHIPPA Morgan, top forward in his days. Heal up the man.
Yeah, man. Big up Joe Downer. Yeah, a lot of respect for players like Joe. He was one of the people who actually made me do the interview, because I watched his, and the first thing he said was, this is the first time I ever get one of these interviews. You understand?
Yeah.
I may say, I'm on a Joe stature. You know what I mean? Boys Town champion, Jamaica champion. And it's the first I want to reach out to Joe for really interview Joe. So I'm not going to take the invite for granted. You get me?
Yeah.
So enough respect to Joe. Enough respect to Mr. Sanchez also.
Yeah, man. And it's Richard Mears saying, this is what Jamaica kids need. Talking about what you said earlier about the 4 pillars of the football. So I also, I mean, embedded in what you said is the necessity to have, I think Donald Stewart said it yesterday, our best coaches needs to be at the lowest age groups.
Yes. Correct. Before I touch on that, let me just hail up Richie Mayer. Richie Mayer is a brethren of mine from Miami who play enough underground ball. They drop some senior ball on some Spanish man in Miami. So respect Richie Mayer. Bless up yourself. Yeah. Sorry about that. But yes, the best coaches, because as I said earlier, Mannings man, when you have players who can play, it becomes more management. It becomes more man management. Right? But if those players don't learn the proper technique and tactics and have the proper mindset and the proper physical attributes, when they get to 16 and 17, it's going to be very difficult for a coach to implement anything. Right? So you need the really good coaches at the younger age groups to get these young players a solid foundation. And then from that now they can build, and the other coaches can take them from there. And then the coaches who are good but not as good will be able to manage them when they're up in the 17, 18 years old, right? Because they already have a good foundation and they just do what they do. Yeah, but it's essential that the best coaches are at the younger age groups.
Yeah. All right. So yesterday I was having a conversation, very long conversation with former national player, good friend of mine, Jeremy, and you. And one of the things that he went through in his career is that there is this perception that he doesn't quote unquote tackle. So I was saying to him, I think that whole thinking towards football must change, because in all the things that you teach in coaching, you never see a coach teaching a player to tackle. So why are we trying to tell a player that you need to tackle? It's not tackling, it's defending. And defending does not mean tackling. So don't say the player don't work hard enough because he doesn't tackle, because tackling is not taught. You're not coached to tackle. You're coached to defend. And defending maybe blocking space or tracking a player. But we have a problem. I mean, a lot of our coaches especially for the skilled players, they are told that they need to tackle more instead of defending. What do you have to say to that? Is it important that say a German U type talent? It's happening with, let me use one. There is a young player called Tyreek McGee, very gifted, passing the ball,
Yep.
very, very good player.
I
But
like him.
he gets a lot of people keep saying that, but he doesn't tackle, he doesn't work off the ball, right? Which may be true, but what is working off the ball? Isn't that just sometimes, like I said, just blocking a pass, pressing right, and not necessarily tackling?
Yeah. So, have you ever heard of Bancroft Garden, Banky?
Yes, yes, yes.
Banky always brags that he doesn't have to tackle because he reads the game. So the good defenders will read the game and not have to tackle. Tackling is last ditch. Tackling is because you're reacting late to something. So now you have to slide tackle, because if you miss that tackle, the man gone. You understand? So tackling should be the last resort for a defender. The defender should be reading the game, anticipating the play. You know what I mean? Positioning themselves to cut off angles, close passing lanes. So that's where game intelligence comes in. But that's a whole nother subject. But that's what defenders should learn to do, not necessarily tackle. Tackling should be a last resort. As for players who don't tackle, look, give me 11 Jermaine Hughes and I'll put them on the field, because I want my 11 best players on the field. I want ball handlers on the field. You understand? And if I'm going to use a player like Tyreek McGee, then all I do is just surround him with tacklers behind him.
Yeah.
So if I have a 3-man midfield, I put him on the point, and then I put 2 defensive-minded midfielders behind him, or 1 defensive-minded midfielder behind him, and another box-to-box beside him. So even if McGee not doing as much work as the others, we have 2 defensive-minded players there to help. Yeah. Or you find a formation that you can play where his defensive liabilities aren't exposed as much. So coaches need to learn how to use these players, because these are the players people play to see. Nobody plays to see a defender heading out a ball. Nobody plays to see a defender clearing a ball. No, them play to see McGee thread a pass through, or Freddie Butler flick one over somebody's head, or Daigi Reds make a wicked turn and bust a man salad and push it through. That's what we want to see. That's the entertainment. Entertainment is tackling. Look, no knock on my defender brethren. I have a lot of them. But tackling is destroying.
I think tackling is overrated. Paulo Maldini said, one of the greatest defenders of all time. He says that if you have to rush in, if you have to tackle, you're exactly what I said earlier. You are already late.
You're already late. You're already late. So for me, I'm not big on tackling or anything like that. Yes, you should know how to do it. Yes, you should understand the technique behind it, but you shouldn't rely on it. If you have to rely on it, that means you're missing your game intelligence is a little low. If you see a player constantly having to slide tackle to prevent someone from getting through, you should be able to intercept some of them and position your teammates to prevent those balls from coming through that make you have to make those last ditch tackles.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at the game.
Jelani Everin, I think a fellow Georgian, says, I grew up hearing about CHIPPA as a legend at school, and then got the chance to play with him, I think, at Nats, and learn a lot. Yes. Nothing can be playing as much as possible and against other very good players. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Big up Jelani. I know Jelani well. I know his dad well. As a matter of fact, my first son is named Jelani also. So yeah, man. Big up Jelani Evering and big up his father too. Yeah.
Yes, your son is still playing, because I know you said that you're coaching.
They stop playing club ball, but they play college. Like just some, and they play just some adult leagues. But after the experience that I had in trying to make it as a professional,
yes,
I kind of kept them away from pursuing that. You get me? Yeah, I did. Maybe it wasn't the right thing to. Don't get me wrong, I did coach them to the best of my ability and I encouraged them to do it. But it wasn't one of those situations where I'm putting all my eggs in that basket. Like, these guys have to make it pro. I coached them, and I left it up to them to decide if they want to play or if they don't want to play. But they still both do play. Still decent players. It's unfair to them because they're always going to be compared to their father. So, but in their own right, they're very good players. My younger son is a very good midfielder. His team that he plays for at Bethesda made it to the nationals under 19, the U.S. national club. His team made it all the way to the regionals, I should say, and lost in the semifinal to go to nationals.
Yeah. Have you ever been tempted to have him come to Jamaica to play for Georges when he was younger?
I talked to my wife. I talked to them about it. I said, man, in retrospect, maybe I should have let you guys come to high school in Jamaica and then, come to America afterwards. But it would have been difficult because, as I said, I tried living here, wasn't able to get a job. So how would they be supported? And I couldn't leave that on my wife's parents or on my parents. You know what I mean? So I had to be there to grow them. And they're the reason why I'm still in America, because I'm still trying to make sure they have a solid foundation before I can make my next move.
So long term, we could see the CHIPPA Foundation or the CHIPPA Soccer Academy.
Well, it wouldn't be named after me.
Or the resurrection of the Wanderers.
Yeah, that would be ideal, But Mannings, man, as I tell my friends, if it's even for Coach Gregory Park Primary School, or seed of, I just want to give back somewhere or another to some young kids, teaching them the game and see how far they can go.
Yeah. Patrick Reed says, basic fundamentals of the game is the key for the youths. And then Devon Porter says, Mannings, man, if you do the 4 things that aid you to defend properly, you don't have to tackle. Tackling is last resort: pressure, cover, balance, and support.
That's a man who knows. That's a man who knows about. He knows about pressure, cover, balance, the principles of defense. So he has been educated in the sport.
Yeah.
I had a discussion. Reggae Boys conceded a couple of goals from crosses.
Yes.
So I had a debate with some friends of mine, and that whole thing came up, and I was saying, not saying, I'm not going to call the player's name, but the defender should have pressured that ball and not allowed the man to cross the ball. You get me?
Yes.
And of course, his teammate should have covered. So when he went to pressure, if the man caught it, then he has cover there. So it goes back to the whole education, coaching education, learning the principles of attack, the principles of defense, and being able to relay that message and break it down so the players can understand. So it's one thing to know it, It's a whole other thing also to be able to relay that information to the players in a way that they can understand it.
Yeah. I have a comment, a next comment just coming. I have some of my subscribers who they are not in the chat. And so this person says, German U is 1970s football, and SMH, which is shaped my head. Why you think Arsenal got rid of Ozil? Football is not just about entertainment. It says, my argument and your argument is a ridiculous argument. Kante tackles and is rated for it. Use the term winning the ball instead versus tackles. If both sides don't tackle / winning the ball, what type of game are we alluding to?
So there are more than one ways to skin the cat, right? So maybe my esteemed friend who commented, maybe he just has a different style of coaching than you would or I would.
Yeah.
But I would like to play against his team.
Yeah.
I would like my team to play against his team.
Yeah.
And then we can go from there.
I would give him the best tacklers in the EPL.
Yeah, I'll give him the best tacklers in the world, and give me my Tyreek McGee's and my ball handlers.
Yeah.
And then we'll see how that game works. Because you have to understand football, And as I said, this is not a knock on any defender, because you have some really good defenders who are smart. But defense is really is destroying the play. You defend to destroy the play, and attacking is creation. You understand? So that's my whole mindset. I want players who are creative. Because if not, we're gonna have a bunch of man just tackling and it become this big kick and man a kick down man, and that's no fun for anyone.
Well,
I personally,
I
personally don't like it. If someone else likes it, that's their cup of tea. They're
you know
entitled
what,
to that.
one of the best defenders in the world now, Virgil van Dijk, doesn't tackle a lot.
He doesn't tackle.
In fact, one of his best assets is reading the game and playing those long diagonals to help Liverpool on the counter as well. So the point is that you will never win the ball. That's not the argument. Because remember, when I was talking about you and even Maggie, I'm saying that it is about defending. They ought to defend. But what we have done is argue because they don't tackle. You don't have to tackle to defend.
You don't have to tackle to defend. Defending is a lot about positioning also. Yeah. Right? And a prime example is
zonal defending don't require you to tackle.
So let's say you're playing a back four, Mannings, and you have two center backs and you have a outside back. Notice my hands are a little separate apart. So these are two center backs here. If this wing back, this right back is all the way over here and leave the space here, that ball is going to be played through, it's going to be exploited. Right? Which is going to force him now or the center half to leave his position to run, go slide tackle. However, if that right back just pinches in and blocks that passing zone, then it provides a need to tackle.
There you go. And the ball goes on the outside so you can shift.
And when the ball goes out, then he can go back out there to provide the first line of defense, which is the pressure.
Right.
And then the center half come around and cover.
Yeah. Which is all
so as I said, there are different ways to skin the cat. And the more you study the game and the more you watch it and the more you talk to other coaches, because no one coach knows everything. You consult with others and you talk. And the more you realize that there are multiple ways to go around it. It's just what works for you. So, not knocking the gentleman with his comment. Maybe that works for him, but that definitely would not work for me or my style. Back to Dennis Zede. He was ahead of his time. We talked about the 4 pillars. Dennis Zede only talked about 3. He talked about technique, understanding, and fitness. So you have T for technique, understanding for tactics, and F for fitness, which is the technique, tactics, and physical, right?
Yeah.
But he said a lot of coaches does FUT, F-U-T. They do fitness first, then understanding, and then technique. No, Mr. Zede was all about technique and understanding, and the run up and down and fitness and kick down man was the last thing him teach us. Never even taught us that. So our technique and understanding of the game is what made us successful. So that is why I was willing to challenge that gentleman who said you need defenders, to say, bring your best 11 defenders over here, and I'll get my best technical players with a good understanding of the team, and I'll run circles around you.
Yeah. So I agree. Give me persons who can possess the ball.
Yes.
Who have all the techniques down, and you take all the men who like to tackle, and I will be there. Because I can teach defending without tackling. I can use an ex-defender. Per Mertesacker is not the best tackler.
Reads the game.
But he reads the game very well.
Mannings, let's look at Manchester City. Everyone watches the Premier League. Every single one of their players even their defenders are more technical than some attackers on Burnley. Now, Burnley is one of those teams I would call a tackling team. Yeah? And you see what happens when City plays anybody. Because of their understanding and the technique that they have, you can't get the ball from them.
Yeah, you don't exactly like you don't get to tackle when Barcelona was playing the tiki-taki. You don't get to tackle them.
You don't get to tackle. So that is where the focus, and that is where Mr. Zede's focus was. I'm telling you, we never once ran laps around the field at George's. You'd never come to see us training and running laps. We would do one pre-season run from George's to Crossroads and back. One day. That's it. And then after that, strictly ball work and understanding and blackboard, teaching us angles and support. And that was it. And we got fit with the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of, and I try to emulate that approach with what I'm doing now. And I'm seeing, some levels of success with it. Yeah. So I'll continue doing it. So again, not to knock the brethren who said what he said, But I have my little style and
Just
it
to make
works for
sure
me.
I think he normally has a team in the Bronx League over there. So I'll try to find out the name of his team in the next one in the summer and
Yeah.
see and see how many tacklers he has on his team.
Yeah, my thing is I do youths though. I stay away from the adults.
Yeah.
So unless he has a youth team, then I wouldn't be competing against them.
Yeah, man. And Christopher Carroll says, Sir Management, your guest is very astute and much traveled in wisdom and knowledge of football, and would be a tremendous asset to our country's football. Enough respect. So he did. His dream is to one day come and give back to what we call grassroots
Yes.
football, which is football coaching at the youngest level. He has
Yeah.
the qualification. So I hope that door will open up on all fronts, both at the employment level, at the moving back and the coaching level for him. I know you did say you were going to give an hour. We are at the 2 hour
I
mark,
know,
so
man.
I'm going to let you go. So I'm going to give you your time to just wrap up, and then I'll give you say a big thank you. So to all the Georgians, the Jamaican, your friends from Portmore, those at Nats, those in the States, your colleges, those in
Yes.
the chat and in the comment section, go ahead and say your final word to them.
All right. So first of all, thank you for having me on the program. Much appreciated. Second, thanks to everyone who tuned in. Wasted 2 hours on a day for listen Blade chat. But seriously though, thank you for tuning in. And I just want to say that the sport of football hasn't really changed over the years. And the tactics may change and the formations may change, but the basic principles remain the same. So once we as Jamaicans realize that, and as you said, get the right coaches at the right levels of development for the players, then sky's the limit for Jamaica. No doubt. I have no doubt in my mind that, and I hear Craig Butler say it all the time. He gets a lot of flack, and he says Jamaica can make it to the World Cup, and he can. I believe what he says because we do have the talent. We just need to focus a little more on youth development. That is where the funds should be. Invest the funds in youth development. And then from there, in the next 10 years, the next decade, you're going to see a totally different landscape of football once you have the youths being developed properly. So again, thanks for having me on the program. Thanks for everyone who tuned in. It was a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Yeah, man. I see your friend Freddie Butler says, big up my national teammate CHIPPA.
Yes.
Playing alongside you, my friend.
Yeah, so you had a question about some of the favorite players to play with.
Yes.
And Freddie is in that. Let me just run down the list real quick. And apologies to anyone who I didn't mention. My brethren, Carl Cooper Gooley. We were close. He was a midfielder. He would give me every ball. Really good footballer. Skitto, same thing. That was at Wanderers level. Skitto at the Manning Cup level. Not a midfielder. You notice all my best players are midfielders because they feed me the ball. All of my STGC teammates, because we won so much together. All my Nats teammates, Danny Maxwell, Metro, Leo Pusey, we won a lot together too. A joy playing with them. Perry Marshall from KC was a joy playing with him also, another midfielder. Freddie Butler was a joy playing with also. Never got a chance to play with Daigie Reds much, but those players I look up to, Dunga, McDonald, look up to them. David Nakid, a non-Jamaican who I really enjoyed playing with. He's from Trinidad. And I just wanted to shout that out. Anyone who I didn't remember,
I'm going to rescue you, because if you don't call Paul Young name, you're going to have problems. So
yeah, man, me and Paulie and I were the starting forwards on the juvenile team.
You don't call him name, so I want to make sure that.
No, man, me and Paulie scored. We both scored in our debut versus Cuba. He scored the overhead kick and I scored the volley. That was me and Paul. So Paulie are good youth. Respect Paul Young. Respect all of the players I've played with over the years. And respect all of the support I've gotten over the years. Even though I was kind of out of the loop, I still got a lot of support from people. So I respect that and appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Wonderful.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Listen, I want to thank you so much. I mean, this has been long coming. We finally got it done. A lot of information. I love what you said earlier about the goals. About you don't you're not a great goal scorer, but you score great goals.
Yeah.
And
So one last piece. I'm plugging myself here because all these years I didn't do it, right? So I'm taking the opportunity now to do it. So at George's, I won 10 trophies. I don't think there's another player in the history of the school to have won 10 trophies. I think I went through them: one Colts, one Pepsi, two Colts, two Manning, three Walker, one Oliver, one Nutriment, one MVP for top it off. But in 10 of those trophies, I think I scored in 5 of those finals. So I wasn't always the leading goal scorer, but I always popped up at the right time. You know, I must have been a knack of scoring in big games. But, you know, I was blessed to be able to do it and bring joy to some people's hearts. Unfortunately, agony to others. Unfortunately, but it was just me enjoying what I love to do. Not doing it with any malice, just out there playing and enjoying the game. So kudos to everyone for taking the time to listen again.
yeah, man. Listen, I want to thank you for coming on, for all the information you have shared, for enlightening the people on the 4 pillars: the technical, the tactical, the physical, and the mental. You know, the important in terms of the stages of development, and how important it is that between age 8 to 12, that the best coaches coach at the lowest age group to get the fundamentals and the foundation set right, so that when it gets to the older age group, it is more management than coaching. Very important information, that you are persistent. You know, in though it never worked out, you still went in, asked for Nesimus, you tried to get in, but it just never happened. But you never gave up. That you also advise for those young players in college that you have to take initiative to put yourself out there,
Yeah,
because if you're out of sight, oftentimes you go out of mind. And so if you're in the States in college and you're wondering, why haven't I been called up? Maybe you need to, you know, send some letters, send some videos, send some clippings, let people know what you're doing, right?
yes,
Also, a next important piece of information that was shared is your experience in England. And for other players, listen, when you're going those spaces, make sure that you get, it's better you have the information and don't need it than you need information and you don't have it, and you miss out on an opportunity to maximize your potential, right?
exactly.
But one of my biggest takeaway is the fact that as a nation, we have such quality all over the diaspora spread out that we can tap into. When I think about your coaching acumens and achievement, here it is that there's one more person, and we keep meeting people who have a heart for our country, that are not residing in the country, that have this great amount of human capital that can be, and resources that can transform the landscape of Jamaica. And I don't know why there is a resistance to tap into it. And I want to encourage us that we need to think like the Jew. The Jew, one of the things that the Jewish people try to do is they do everything they can to make you a citizen, especially for people who are not in Israel. And so they have Jews all over. It's like they're on a quest to make you a Jew. I think what Jamaica needs to do is to do that, you know, to begin to tap into the persons in Canada, in the United States, in England who are connected, so we can use some of these uh, resources, vast intellectual capital, to make our country better and improve not just in sport, but in the social atmosphere and welfare of our country. And that's something I'm seeing, that here it is, there's an outstanding person developing American talent that could go into their national team to come and beat Jamaica.
Yep, that's exactly what's happening.
And
That's exactly what's happening, Mannings, man.
yeah, and I think it's time for us as a nation to stop and think about this. We may not be able to take everyone back to Jamaica, but we could at least open the door to educate people from a coaching perspective. We are in the age of social platforms and medias. Have some seminars where some of this information is passed on to the people in the football, so they can learn, grow, and develop. And so I want to thank you for your insightful thoughts. Um, I'm wishing you all the best for this year, you and your family. And I'm hoping that either Wanderers will be restarted or you'll be back here working, like I said, with some primary school somewhere, sharing some information. So thank you again. Thank you for coming on. It was really a pleasure having you, and really appreciate your company, Sir Christopher Chippa Morgan, the first MVP named in schoolboy football at the Manning Cup level.
Thank you for having me again.
Yes, sir. Bless you.
Take care.
All right, so there you have it, people. Wonderful morning spent with Christopher Chippa Morgan. What an interview. If you missed out on some of it, please go back and look again and watch again. There's so many points that you can take out, so many things you can learn, so many things you can add to what you do now to make things better. And so I encourage you to rewatch, to share, to hit the like button, and also if you have not yet subscribed to the platform. Thank you again for sticking and staying with us on this interview. Want you to know that tomorrow we have one more story to share with you. And this story will be a story in our Untold Stories. We'll be hearing from a former Constant Spring Waterhouse Harborview player, Patrick Reed, got called up to national setup, and just what happened, why it never happened. It will be a fascinating story. And so you can join us for that tomorrow at 11 a.m. Later this evening, we'll be doing our schoolboy football show, and we did an earlier video. It started the same time as this stream because there was some mistake with the timing of the video. But hope you watch it. It's about some Cavaliers player who are on the move out of Jamaica. Be safe. Take care. Walk good. Live good. We leave you with a word from our sponsors, Tricknick.
Tricknick Jerk Marinade gives your meats and vegetables authentic Jamaican jerk flavor. The spices are directly from Jamaica. Spices like jerk seasoning, allspice, Scotch bonnet pepper, fresh scallions, thyme, ginger, and garlic. The key ingredients to a great jerk marinade. 0% sugar and low in sodium. You want to try it?
Jamaican herbs and spices add delicious, bold flavor to your next grilling experience. Flavoring sauce, a marinade, basting, condiment, or topping. Trick Nick Jerk Barbecue Sauce.